What's up guys, Syiler here, and we are back on the 5.4 PTR, taking a look at changes for Retribution that are coming in 5.4. So the nerfs, the buffs, the changes, the additions, the removals, anything along those lines will be covered in this video. And none of the Pro or Holy stuff, unfortunately, as I'm just going to be focusing on Rat in this video. So remember, this is still PTR, and those things could be reverted or added or changed before the actual patch goes live, so keep that in mind. The first change up is to Crusader Strike, and Crusader Strike now puts weakened blows on the target. If you don't know what that is, basically weakened blows demoralizes the target, reducing their physical damage taken by 10% for... their physical damage dealt by 10% for 30 seconds. And we used to get that from using Hammer of the Righteous, so we'd have to put Hammer of the Righteous on, say, a warrior, reduce his damage that he deals, and then we could go on with our normal rotation. Now we don't need to worry about that, we can just Crusader Strike and it will put on the same debuff. So just basically a quality of life change, nothing too crazy, nothing that really changes anything, and it'll just, make things a little bit smoother instead of having to use Hammer of the Righteous. But the next change, the next change is a good one. Inquisition now, each charge of Holy Power used for Inquisition now makes the duration 20 seconds up from 10. So before you'd have 3 Holy Power, you'd use Inquisition, it would last for 30 seconds. Now you have 3 Holy Power, you use Inquisition, it lasts for 1 minute. That is a tremendously great change, and thank you. It makes Inquisition feel less clunky. That's one thing I don't really like, is the duration of Inquisition. It makes it just a pain. It's so awkward and annoying to keep up. It isn't fun to deal with. So that'll make that mechanic a lot smoother, and also we'll gain a little bit of damage because we'll be able to use more Templar's Verdicts in place of those Inquisitions. And it also makes 1 and 2 charges of Inquisition a lot more viable. Before it'd be 10 seconds, now it'd be 20 seconds, so it definitely changes things. The next change is to Guardian of Ancient Kings for Ret, and basically before Guardian of Ancient Kings was on a 5-minute cooldown, now it'll be on a 3-minute cooldown, which seems awesome, but there's a catch. The amount of stacks has been reduced from 20 down to 12. So if you're unfamiliar with how Guardian worked before, any attacks you do or the Guardian does, you'll gain a stack. Each one of those stacks equals 1 strength, and before that stacked to 20, which would equal 20 strength or 20% strength. Now it is going to only equal 12% strength. So it means our opening burst isn't going to be as high, but it means we can do more of it. So not sure if I like this change, as it's still 3 minutes, so it doesn't really line up very nicely, and it's still a little bit awkward. But it means we will be able to do more damage more often, instead of having to wait for those 5-minute periods. So not too sure. Not too sure how I feel about that, and I'll have to play with it to see if I like it or not. But, it's not going to make too much of a difference there. The next change is to our level 30 talents, and this is to Burden of Guilt. Burden of Guilt is no longer a talent, but don't worry, it's still in the game, it's just somewhere else. And the talent has been replaced with Evil is a Point of View. And Evil of a Point of View allows Paladins to use Turn Evil on humanoids, players, and beasts. So it basically gives us another CC, it allows us to use Turn Evil on a player, and that's on a 1.5 second cast with a 15 second cooldown. So, it gives us more CC, it means we can play with more comps in like 2s, 3s, and 5s, and definitely a nice change. And Burden of Guilt, as I said, isn't gone. The one thing that is gone, though, is the Turn Evil glyph. That is no longer in the game. You can't get an instant cast Turn Evil. You will always have to cast it, but it being 1.5 seconds is not much, really. A second cast is nothing. It'd be very, very difficult to interrupt that. And it does lower with haste as well. So as I said, the Burden of Guilt is somewhere else, and we'll cover that a little bit later on in the video. The next change is to Eternal Flame. The periodic heal over time effect now heals for 40% more. So basically a number change to Eternal Flame's heal over time. We're just going to use it and see how well it actually heals. Take about 50% damage here. Pop on Eternal Flame, and the initial tick is 57k. Not too bad. And then after that, that's a 27k crit, 13k normal hit. So 13k consistent and 27k crit. So that's roughly what you're going to see. Not too bad. It makes the talent a lot more viable, but I don't feel it'll really be used anyway. But that's going to heal for about 80% of my health bar. Not too bad overall, since I've got, I don't know what gear I'm in. I think I'm on about 505 item level on this character. So that's not too bad. That's like a 400-ish k heal. but having it over time isn't too great. So, you know, it makes the talent a lot more viable, brings it closer to the other two, but I still don't feel it's going to be used for rare anyway. But gives us the option to. The next change is to execution sentence, and basically this has been you know, it's not something I can really show, but it's something I'll be able to explain. Basically, execution sentence will now immediately deal damage the target for 5 times the amount of damage that had been dealt by execution sentence's most recent period effect when dispelled. So it might sound a little bit confusing, but say your execution sentence just ticked for 20k, and it gets dispelled, then it'll tick for 5 times that 20k on the target. And it also works like that for the heal as well. If you use it on yourself and it gets dispelled, it'll heal for 5 times the last tick. There's also been a change to Hand of Purity in the level 60 tier, and Hand of Purity now reduces damage taken from harmful periodic effects up from 70% to 80%, and also reduces damage taken from harmful periodic effects that cannot be prevented by immunities by 40%. So, you know, it's going to have a very situational use once again, but just makes it a little bit more useful there. The next change is to Unbreakable Spirit, and Unbreakable Spirit's been simplified a little bit. It now reduces the cooldown of Divine Shield, Divine Protection, and Lay on Hands by a straight up 50%. So Lay on Hands will be a 5-minute cooldown instead of 10, Bubble will be 2.5 minutes instead of 5. So, you know, it makes it a little bit more easy. Whether Lay on Hands would be usable in Arena, I highly doubt that. Even if it is a 5-minute cooldown, it's still 10-minute base, so I don't think it would be usable in Arena. But there you go. The next change is to Glyphs, and this is the Glyph of Burden of Guilt. So Burden of Guilt has replaced the, replaced the Turn Evil Glyph. And when you judge, it'll reduce the target's movement speed by 50% for 2 seconds. So it gives us that glyph. We're not really losing out on Burden of Guilt, and, you know, I can see that being used quite frequently. We have the Fear, we have a Stun, we have a Blind. You know, the CC instant CC kit is looking very, very nice right now for Ret, so I'm definitely not going to complain at the changes that they've done there. Divine Shield is a new glyph. Divine Shield, removing harmful effects with Divine Shield, heals the Paladin for each effect removed. This effect cannot exceed a percentage of the Paladin's maximum health. So the percentage is 50%, and each harmful debuff removed is 10% heal. So say you're up against an Affliction lock, 5 debuffs on you, you bubble, you'll get 50% health back. And it can't be any more than 50%, but it definitely, you know, it's definitely an interesting glyph that could be situational. Can't see it being used often, but, you know, it can have those situational uses. 50% heal you can't really grumble at, but you do need to burst your bubble to use it. So we'll see. But an additional glyph for free, you can't really complain at either. Glyph of Hand of Sacrifice is another new glyph. Hand of Sacrifice no longer transfers the damage taken by the target to the Paladin. So before you'd use it, say, on the tank, and that damage, the percentage of damage it would reduce would be transferred to you. So you'd receive that 20% damage that the tank wasn't. And sometimes that was bad, like if the tank took a huge hit, you'd nearly die from that, especially if there's other mechanics going on. So now it turns Hand of Sacrifice into a straight up defensive, there's no risk. You put it on a tank, 20% damage reduction straight up, there's no damage transfer, there's no penalty, just bam, just a glyph slot. So definitely makes the Hand of Sacrifice a lot more useful, and it'll be definitely a situational glyph that's mainly used in PvE. Glyph of Immediate Truth. And basically, Glyph of Immediate Truth now increases the damage, the instant damage done by 40% up from 30%. So a slight number tweak. Really can't see this glyph being used anyway. Even if it does get a number tweak, it's quite a pointless glyph. It'd need a lot more tweaking than that to actually be useful. So we'll see what happens, because remember, it does reduce the actual damage over time by censure. So we'll see, but I highly doubt that anyone will really use that. Glyph of Inquisition has been redesigned. It now, every time you get a killing blow or a mob that gives you experience, it'll increase the duration of Inquisition by 30 seconds, up to a maximum of 2 minutes. So it just means while you're questing or in a battleground, you can consistently pretty much keep up Inquisition. You know, every 30 seconds, as long as you kill something or someone in 30 seconds, you'll consistently be getting 30 seconds off them. But it takes up a major glyph slot, so can't really see it being that much use. The Rebuke glyph has been replaced by the Devotion Aura, which causes Devotion Aura to no longer affect party or raid members, but the cooldown is reduced. So that's going to be very nice if you're solo, you know, you're doing some solo BGs, things like that, where you're not playing with other people. And you can use Aura Mastery a lot more frequently, and Aura Mastery is great because it reduces magic damage taken by 40% and allows you to basically free cast heals during that period as well. So having that more frequently is definitely nice, but you sacrifice the main component of it, which is, well, one of the main components, which is spreading it to everyone else who's in the area. So not going to be seen in PvE and probably not in Arena ever, but if you're doing some solo BGs, it could be potentially useful there. But once again, it does take up a major glyph slot, which I'm sure you could probably get something more useful in there. But once again, gives you an option, 3 options. The next glyph is basically some little minor glyphs that we've been added, and that is Glyph of Exorcist, which Exorcism will now appear to remove evil from its target, and yeah, you've seen a little like sort of ghost pop out, like a orangey sort of ghost pop out when exorcismed, and that's it really. And then the Glyph of Pillar of Light, critical heals on other players display a small pillar of light at the location briefly. There you go, you've seen one. Let's see if we can get another one on the go. I'm going to put up an Eternal Flame, and let's get up Execution Sentence as well. And let's see if we can't get another Pillar of Light to spawn. Is one going to spawn? Maybe not. Let's do a couple more heals. There we go, little Pillar of Light. So a couple of more like fun little cosmetic glyphs for you to use in your the minor slot as well. So that is the end of the changes. Overall, Ret looks to be in a decent place. We'll see how the Guardian change works out once things come onto live and I can play it a little bit more and see how it feels. But overall, like the fear, the burden of guilt now being a glyph, like all these are very strong changes, and I can see Ret being in an okay place next patch. Not, not amazing, but not bad. It's going to be middle to highish tier. So thanks for watching, guys. Look out for more videos coming soon. See ya!